وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. All praises to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May the peace and blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be upon our noble Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, his entire household and companions, and all of those who adhere strictly to his guidance till the day of Ameen. Bismillah ta'ala, today we shall continue from where we stopped yesterday. As you recall, we read the following topics in our lecture yesterday. استقبال الكعبة حكم الصلاة إلى غير الكعبة خطأ and al-qiyam. And so today the next topic for discussion is as-salatu fi safinati wa ta'ira. As-salatu fi safinati wa ta'ira means observing the salah inside the ship or canoe and airplane, airplane or helicopter or anything that flies. So as-safina is anything that is driven on top of the water, and a ta'ira is anything that flies from the water. Ta'ira, bird. It is permitted to pray inside the airplane or the helicopter, as we mentioned yesterday, that if the musalli is observing any of the obligatory prayers, then he should try as much as he can to face the qibla while making takbiratul ihram, and then turn to wherever his seat faces and continue his salah. As for nawafil, he can observe it without facing the qibla, as Prophet ﷺ used to observe the nawafil on his riding animals. But it is better for both if one can face the qibla for the takbiratul ihram at least, and then continue the salah wherever the safina, the ship, or the ta'ira, the airplane, faces. Sheikh al-Albani Rahimahullah said, وَتَجُوزُ صَلَاةُ الْفَرِيضَةِ فِي السَّفِينَةِ. It is permitted to observe the obligatory prayer while riding a canoe or a ship. It is permitted because salat is compulsory on every Muslim and he has to pray at the appropriate time. So it is not an excuse to say that one was riding on the canoe or one was in the ship while the time for salat commenced, and so as a result he could not pray because he was in a ship or was in an airplane traveling from one point to another. So even while in the airplane or in the ship, the Muslim is still obligated to observe the salah. وَكَذَلِكَ الطَّائِرَةِ. It is also permitted to pray while inside the airplane. وَلَهُ أَن يُصَلِّيَ فِيهِمَا قَاعِدًا. It is allowed for whoever is inside the airplane or in the ship or canoe and decides to observe the salah, whether it is the obligatory prayer or any of the nawafil, it is allowed for him to pray sitting. It's allowed for him to pray sitting. Now, yesterday I explained that the aslu is that one observe the salat standing because of the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَقُومُوا لِلَّهِ قَانِتِينَ. But the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Salli qa'iman, observe the salah standing. That is, if you are able to stand. فَإِنْ لَمْ تَسْتَطِعْ فَقَعِدًا. But if you are unable to, then pray sitting. So this is an allowance for those who are unable to pray standing. And this allowance is not limited to those who are sick alone. For those who are, they are allowed to pray either standing if it is easy for them, or sitting if that is easy for them, or even reclining or lying on their backs if that is more comfortable for them. Also, for those who are come of age, people who are in the old age and cannot pray standing, they can also pray sitting or lying if that is the most comfortable position for them. But for the qadir al-qiyam, the one that is able to pray standing, and he decides to pray sitting, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said that whoever prays sitting while he is able to pray standing will have half of the reward of the one that prays standing. And whoever prays reclining on his side or laying on his back while he is able to pray sitting will have half the reward of the one that prays sitting. The ulama said this hadith applies to non-obligatory prayers, the nawafil. As we know, the nawafil can be observed even while sitting. For the person that is able to pray standing, he is permitted to pray the nawafil sitting, like the tarawih, for example. One can decide to pray the tarawih sitting, even though he is able to pray standing. As for the obligatory prayers, one has to pray standing if he is able to pray standing. So this is the aslu. Even al-aslu fil faridah, the basis of obligatory prayers is that one must pray standing unless it is unable to. As for the nawafil, there's allowance that one may pray sitting if he likes, and he may pray standing if he likes. However, if he is able to stand and he still prefers to pray sitting, he will have half the reward of the one that pray standing. So إذا خشي على نفسه السكوت وله أن يصلي فيها قاعدة إذا خشي على نفسه السكوت. If the person that is observing salat in the airplane or in the ship fears that he may fall if he chooses to pray standing, then it is permitted for him to pray sitting. It's permitted for him to pray sitting because Adil Yusuf, like I mentioned yesterday, the religion is easy. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, La yukallifullahu nafsan illa wus'aha. Allah does not place a burden on a soul beyond what it can bear. وَمَا جَعَلَ عَلَيْكُمْ فِي الدِّينِ مِنْ حَرَجٍ. Allah has not placed any burden or difficulty on you in matters of the deen. So if the person in the airplane or in the canoe or ship fears that should he pray standing, he would fall down and perhaps injure himself in the process, he is allowed to pray sitting. ويجوز أن يعتمد في قيامه على عمود أو عصا لكبر سنه أو ضعف بدنه. Sheikh Al-Albani Rahimahullah Ta'ala said, it is permitted for the one that has decided to pray standing. Now, this discussion is not limited to the one praying in the canoe or in the ship or in the airplane alone. It is permitted for the person that is observing Salah to recline on ala umud, a pillar. Let's assume someone is praying in the masjid and there is a pillar in the masjid and he wants to pray. But likibari sinni, he is of old age, very old, to the extent that standing is very difficult for him. And he chooses to pray standing, above praying sitting. So he can rely on a pillar of the masjid or the wall of the masjid. One can also pray while relying on the wall of the masjid to keep him standing, if that is easy for him. Or he may even hold a stick while praying. It's permitted for him to hold a stick while praying in order to give him the needed balance to observe the salat comfortably. This is allowed for the musalli. If someone were riding in a canoe or flying in an airplane, and he also realizes that if he holds maybe the wall of the airplane, or perhaps there is an iron or a rod in the airplane, or he has a stick with him, if he holds the stick, or it might not even be a stick. For some of us that have ridden in the BRT buses of Lagos State, we see that some of the buses have these iron rods, and some even have something you can hold on top of you. So if that would give the person the needed balance to be able to observe Salah, then he can recline on it as a result of old age, so long as it does not distract his attention from the Salah and it doesn't turn him away from the Qibla. So yajuzu an ya'tamida fi qiyami, it is permitted for the person praying to rely while standing for Salah ala umudin, on a pillar or asa or a stick, likibari sinnihi, due to his old age, or dha'fi badanihi, or because his body is weak. Now, the weakness of the body could be as a result of perhaps having undertaken labor during the day. Laborers, for example, who had gone out to work and is very tired to the extent that to stand would be very difficult for him, but he believes that if he relies on the pillar of the masjid, he will be able to maintain the needed balance for Salah. It is allowed for him to do so. It could also be as a result of sickness. If someone were sick and he fears that he would not be able to stand in Salah as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expects of him, then he can either hold a stick while standing, or he may as well rely on one of the pillars of the masjid, or even the wall of the masjid. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Al-jamu bain al-qiyam wal-qu'ud, combining standing and sitting in Salah. Now, this basically applies to the nawafil. One who intends to observe nawafil, it could be the Salatul Duha during the morning, it could be any of the nawafil before and after the salat of the afternoon, or it could be the salat of the evening, or we call this the salat of the night, let's say Taraweeh, for example, or Qiyamul Layl and Tahajjud before the Fajr. Now, it is allowed to observe this salat in three formats. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to observe the nawafil in three formats. The first format, as the Sheikh has mentioned, is وَيَجُوزُ أَن يُصَلِّيَ صَلَاةَ اللَّيْلِ قَائِمًا. It is allowed for him to observe the prayer of the night, the Salatul Layl, that's the Tahajjud, or the Taraweeh in Ramadan, or Qiyamul Layl, as it is generally called. It is allowed to observe the Qiyamul Layl qa'ima, while standing, because it is a nafila. There is a choice of standing while observing the Salah, or sitting to observe the Salah. But there's a third format that Prophet ﷺ has taught us, and that's what the Sheikh is trying to explain. Al-qa'idan biduni uzri. One can also observe the Salatul Layl while sitting, even without any excuse, even without any reason for doing so. So it is not until someone is sick or is of old age, for example, that he or she can observe the Qiyamul Layl while sitting. Even without any reason for doing so, it is allowed for the Muslim to observe the Qiyamul Layl in the sitting position. So these are two now. Qa'iman, it could be observed standing. Qa'ida, it could be observed sitting. وَأَنْ يَجْمَعَ بَيْنَهُمَا. And one could also combine these two postures. It could combine with standing and sitting together in the salat, the Qiyamul Layl. But how? فَيُصَلِّي وَيَقْرَأُ جَالِسًا. So the third format is that one begins the salat while sitting. So he raises his hand for Takbiratul Ihram, Allahu Akbar, and he starts his qira'ah. Then he recites Surah Al-Fatiha, he recites any of the surah or any verse from the Quran, Mata Yassar, whatever is easy for him from the Quran. And then when he is about to go for ruku', when he's about to reach the last verse that he would recite and go for ruku', as of Prophet ﷺ, it is said that when it is about 40 to 50 verses, when he has 40 to 50 verses left to recite before going for ruku', sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it means that he reads a lot. He recites a lot of verses. So after he had recited a lot of verses, and it's just about 40 to 50 verses left to go for ruku', the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would now stand up and observe the ruku'. So for Yusalli, he begins the salat wa yaqra jalisan. He begins the salat and the recitation while in the sitting position. Wa qubayla ruku'. Then shortly before the ruku', it is said that qubayl. Qubayl is the tasdir of qabl. Qabl means before, but qubayl means something that is even shorter than before. So it means that one can even recite up till when he is one or two verses before the ruku'. Yaqum, he can now stand up. فَيَقْرَوْ مَا بَقِيَ عَلَيْهِ مِنَ الْآيَاتِ قَائِمًا. And he will now complete the remaining verses that he intends to recite while in the standing posture. So he starts the salat sitting down. Then when he is moments away from the ruku', he stands up, complete the recitation. Then he goes for sujood. And then from sujood, he rises again. وَيَسْجُد, and he goes for sujood. ثم يصنع مثل ذلك في الركعة الثانية, and he repeats the same thing in the second verse, in the second unit of salah, the second rak'ah. So this format is also allowed in the Qiyamul Layl. Again, let me take a recapitulation. In the Qiyamul Layl, one is allowed to pray all the salat standing. This applies to Taraweeh for those of us who are observing the Taraweeh with our families in our homes. We can observe all the Taraweeh prayer, depending on the number of rakah we decide to observe, 11, for example, standing. We can observe all the prayer sitting. We can combine between standing and sitting, and this format is that we begin our salat sitting down, we make our recitations while sitting down, and then when we are a few ayats away from the ruku', we stand up, observe complete the recitation of the ayat, then go for ruku', go for sujood. Then we sit back again and make our recitation for the second rakah. And then we do that again and again until we finish the nawafil. وَإِذَا صَلَّى قَاعِدًا. But whenever one decides to observe the salat sitting down, now this applies to whether one is sick and decide to pray sitting, or maybe due to old age, or maybe one is extremely weak and cannot pray standing, or maybe one is observing the Qiyamul Layl while sitting down. As we said, it is allowed. What is correct for him to do, the correct sitting posture for him, is jalasa mutarabbi'a. He should sit down in the mutarabbi' format. Now, what is the mutarabbi' format? The mutarabbi' format I'm trying to demonstrate is that one sits on his buttocks. You sit on your buttocks, and then you fold your left and your right leg, like some of us used to sit while we're in front of our ulama, while in front of our scholars. So he sits on his buttocks completely, and then he folds his left and the right leg like this. So this is the mutarabbi format. So if one is sitting like this and he decides to observe the nawafil, he prays like this, Allahu Akbar. When he wants to go for ruku, he lowers his head a bit, and then he returns from the ruku like this, Sami Allahu liman hamida, and then the sujood is lower than the ruku. So the sujood will be akhfad min ruku'. It will be lower than the ruku. If one is able to place his forehead on the floor for sujood, this is better for him if he's able to. But if due to old age or sickness, he is unable to place his forehead on the floor, then he doesn't need to take any object and place his head on it, like some people who take stone and place their head on the stone for sujood. This is not allowed. This is not, we said this yesterday. He should merely make his sujood a bit lower than his ruku in a manner that is more comfortable for him, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept his salat. So one can sit mutarabbi'an while sitting on your buttocks and folding your two legs, أو أي جلسة أخرى يستريح بها, and one may also decide to sit in any other way that makes him comfortable. So it means that sitting mutarabbi'an is preferred, but it is not the only manner of sitting. So one can also sit muftarisha. Muftarisha, that is the sitting posture that the Prophet ﷺ recommends for us whenever in the first tahiyyat. For example, when observing Salatul Zuhur, the first sitting posture is different from that of the second sitting posture. The first sitting posture is the iftirash. The second sitting posture for the last tashahud is the tawarruk. So, and that format is that one places his buttock on his left leg while folding his right leg. Inshallah, when we get to description of the proper manner of salat, we're going to try as much as we can to get a surface that will make it easier for us to demonstrate each of these positions. So this is about al-jam'u bain al-qiyam wal-qu'ud. One can combine praying, standing, and sitting at the same time. It's allowed, especially for the qiyam layl. The next topic is as-salatu fi ni'al, praying in sandals. Now, وَيَجُوزُ لَهُ, Sheikh Al-Bani Rahimahullah Ta'ala said, it is permitted for the one observing salah and يَقِفَ حَافِيًا, to stand in salat barefooted. It is permitted for the one observing salah to stand barefooted in salah. كَمَا يَجُوزُ لَهُ أَنْ يُصَلِّيَ مُنْتَعِلًا, just as it is permitted for him to pray with his shoes or sandals on. Now, there is no difference. Whatever footwear one is wearing, whether it is boots or shoes or sandals or slippers, call it whatever, or hoof, it carries the same ruling. So one can observe the salah with his shoes or boots or sandals on. It is allowed in Islam. But let me mention here that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to pray with his sandals on at times, not all the time, sometimes, and the Sahaba also followed suit. They pray with their sandals on sometimes. But the masjid of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was not tarred, it was not cemented or tiled. It is sand, pure sand. So it is easier for them to pray with their shoes or sandals on. Whoever wishes to practice this sunnah today must first try to understand the nature of environment where he wishes to practice it. Some people have spread rocks, expensive rocks in their masjid, and they will take exception to anyone coming into the masjid with his sandals on and coming straight in there to pray with his sandals on. In fact, you will be lucky to escape lynching. So the Muslim does not practice the sunnah in a manner that will cause fitna for the ummah. If the people of the area are well familiar with the sunnah of praying with the sandals on, and they in fact practice it, no problem, you can do that. But for you to say, I have to pray with my sandals on, and then you enter the masjid, even when they are telling you, don't come into the masjid with your sandals on, you insist that this is the sunnah, and you must enforce the sunnah, you are only enforcing stupidity and foolishness. And whatever happens to you, then you have to accept your fate of being foolish. This is what Sheikh Muhammad bin Umar bin Salim Bazmouk has said in his sharh of the siffatus Nabiyy. He mentioned that there are two conditions required of anyone that intends to pray with his sandals on. Number one is that there should not be dirt or filth beneath his shoe or sandals. You must check. So the first thing you do if you want to put your sandals on is that you check the beneath of your sandal. If there is any dirt there, then rub it on the sand so that you clean it before you put it on. In fact, for those of us who have been confined to our homes due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, we can begin to let our families know about this sunnah. It is not only when we go to the masjid that we may decide to put on our sandals or slippers. Try it today. When you intend to pray Tarawih with your family today, try praying with your shoes or sandals on. Let them know that this is sunnah and that they can observe salat like that. It is not only the salat of janaza, it is there that you see many people practicing this sunnah. In fact, so many people do not even know that one can observe even the salat with janaza with his shoes or sandals on. So we should continue to demonstrate this sunnah so that the people get to know more about Islam through us. So we can observe our salat with our slippers or sandals on once we are sure that beneath the slippers or sandals there is no dirt. The evidence for this is that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam once was leading the salah and he was putting his sandals on, and so were the Sahaba. Then all of a sudden he removed his sandals and kept them by his side, and then the Sahaba also removed their sandals and kept them by their sides. So when he finished the salah, he turned to them and said, why did you remove your sandals? Ma balukum alqaytum ni'alakum. Why did you remove your sandals? Qalu, they said, Ra'aynaka alqaytana alayk fa alqayna ni'alana. We saw that you removed your sandals, and since we were following your pattern of salah, we also decided to remove our sandals. The Prophet said, Inna Jibrila atani. It was Jibril that came to me while I was praying. Fa akhbarani anna fi aqadara. And Jibril informed me that beneath my sandals is a filth. So this is the evidence that one should check his sandals before wearing them for salat. So Sheikh Al-Bani said, well, afdal, but what is better and more preferred is an yusalli taratan hakadha wa taratan hakadha. What is preferred is that one should not keep to just one style all the time. Sometimes observe the salat with your slippers or sandals or shoes on. Some other times observe the salat barefooted, so that you combine between this sunnah and this sunnah. So if there's anything the Prophet ﷺ used to do sometimes and would abandon sometimes, the sunnah is that we also follow suit. We do not stick to one all the time. But like I mentioned again, if it is difficult for you to pray your sandals in the masjid where you pray, because of the nature of the masjid or because of the nature of the people you pray with, do not cause fitna. Pray barefooted in the masjid. When you get to your house and you intend to observe nawafil, pray with your shoes or sandals on. Wallahu ta'ala alam. So Sheikh Albani said, Hasbama tayassara lahu. Whichever is easier for him. he should observe it in that manner, with shoes on at times, without shoes at times. فَلَا يَتَكَلَّفُ لُبْسَهُمَا لِلصَّلَاةِ وَلَا خَلْعَهُمَا. One should not overburden himself with either wearing the shoes for salat or removing the shoes for salat. What the Sheikh meant here is that if one is with the shoes on and he intends to observe salat, he should not remove them, so long as it won't cause fitna, like I mentioned earlier, among the people he prays with. So if he's with his shoes on, he should pray like that. He should not say, I have to remove the shoes. If he is without the shoes, he should not say, I have to put on the shoes. So whichever hal he is on, he should pray like that. But in kana hafiyan, salla hafiyan. If he were barefooted, he should pray barefooted. He should not go and bring the shoes because he simply wants to pray. وَإِنْ كَانَ مُنْتَعِلًا صَلَّى مُنْتَعِلًا إِلَّا لِأَمْرٍ عَارِضٍ. If he is with the shoes on, he should also pray like that with his shoes on, except if there is a cogent reason for him to do that. For example, if one approaches the salah, let's say for instance, the Salatul Jumu'ah, the mosque is overfilled with people, and then one intends to observe the salah, then there is no space to stand except on the street. So he removes his shoes only for him to realize that the third road, the road is very hot, extremely hot, that he may not be able to concentrate properly if he were to pray without his shoes on. In this instance, it is permitted for him to simply put his shoes on and pray with his shoes. So Allah Ta'ala a'lam. Sheikh continues, وَإِذَا نَزَعَهُمَا. And in case one intends to remove his shoes in order to observe salah, فَلَا يَضَعُهُمَا عَنْ يَمِينِهِ. It is not permitted to place the shoes to one's right side. Do not place your shoes to your right side if you remove them to observe salah. Do not place them to your right side. وَإِنَّمَا عَنْ يَسَارِهِ. In fact, there is a statement that do not place your shoes to your right side or even to your left side, because your left side might be the right side of your partner in salah. So imagine someone praying behind an imam, Salatul Jama'ah. Your right side is another person's left side. Your left side is another person's right side. So do not place the shoes to your right side, which is to the left side of another, or to your left side, which is the right side of another. So in that situation, where do you place your shoes? You place your shoes in between your feet. This is how you should observe your salah when you remove your shoes. So Sheikh said, وَإِنَّمَا عَنْ يَسَارِهِ. He should place his shoes to his left side. إِذَا لَمْ يَكُنْ عَنْ يَسَارِهِ أَحَدٌ يُصَلِّي. If there is no one praying to his left side. So this is the condition. This is the condition. وَإِلَّا. But if there is anyone praying to his left side, وَضَعَهُمَا بَيْنَ رِجِلَيْهِ. He should place his shoes in between his feet. Do not place it ahead of you. Do not place it behind you. Place your shoes in between your feet. This is the sunnah. بِذَلِكَ صَحَّ الْأَمْرُ عَنِ النَّبِيِّ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم. This is the command that has come from the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. Now, in the case of the hadith I mentioned earlier, the Messenger of Allah was leading the salah, and then he suddenly removed the shoes and he placed the shoes to his left. The reason is that he was the imam and there was no one standing to his left. So if you are praying alone or you are the imam and you decided to remove your shoes, then you should place the shoes to your left, not to your right, even though there is no one there, but to your left. But if you are a ma'mum and there are other people praying together with you, then do not place it to your right or to your left, but in between your feet. Wallahu ta'ala alam. The next is as-salatu ala al-mimbar, praying on the mimbar. Now, the mimbar, as we know, is the structure, usually furniture, that has 3 steps that is placed in the masjid for the imam to make the khutbah on Fridays, for Salatul Jumu'ah on Fridays. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is reported to have been holding a particular tree that was in the masjid for for a while before he commanded one of the Sahaba to make a furniture stand for him. And the furniture stand has 3 steps. So after the stand was brought to the masjid, the Prophet ﷺ would pray on the minbar, would do the khutbah on the minbar. So the minbar, it is better that the minbar is a movable object, so that other than for the khutbah, it will be removed. The imam doesn't have to stand on the minbar while leading the salat. The ulama extended this discussion to the mihrab, and this issue is an issue of divergent views among the fuqaha. That is the issue of the imam praying on a position that is higher than that of the ma'mum. Some of the ulama allowed it if it is just zira, like an arm length. So if it is as tall as an arm length, but if it is, some said shibr, but if it is higher, then the majority of the ulama are of the view that it is makruh. This is the view of the aktharu ahli al-ilm, or aktharu al-fuqaha, that it is makruh for the imam to stand on a position that is higher than that of the ma'mumun while in salah. So this is why what is better for us is that in all the masajid that the imam stands on a higher position than the ma'mumun, we should endeavor to level it so that the imam stands on a level ground with those he is leading. This is what is better. This is what is better. There are a lot of juristic views, but we don't have time to begin to delve into that. So what is better is to pray on a level surface with the ma'mumun. However, the discussion here is praying on the minbar with the sole aim of teaching the ma'mumun how to pray. Because the imam is also the teacher, is the teacher of the followers. So he is to observe their salat and make corrections appropriately. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam observed the salat of al-musi'i salatahu, the man that erred in his salat. The man that erred in his salat, Khalad bin Rafi'. Khalad bin Rafi'. So the man that erred in his salat, the Muslim observed the salat and made corrections. This was how he observed the salat of the Sahaba and corrected them. So the imam has a duty to correct the salat of those that pray behind him, just as he has a duty to teach them. Now, this teaching has to be occasionally, not that every day the imam comes to the masjid, he stands on the minbar and leads the salat because he says he's teaching them. This teaching cannot be every day, because if it becomes an order, then this is the karaha that the ulama have discussed, that it is detestable. وَتَجُوزُ صَلَاةُ الْإِمَامِ عَلَى مَكَانٍ مُرْتَفِعٍ. It is permitted for the imam to observe the salat on a higher thing, or on a higher object, on a higher place, makan murtafi', لِتَعْلِيمِ النَّاسِ, in order to teach the people how to observe the salat. So this is the gharad. This is the gharad. This is the objective. The objective of standing on a higher place than the ma'mumun is to teach them how to pray. So yakumu alayhi, but the manner of praying on the minbar is that the imam will stand on the minbar, فَيُكَبِّرْ, he will make the takbiratul ihram, Allahu Akbar, while on the minbar, وَيَقْرَأ, he would make his recitations while on the minbar, وَيَرْكَعْ, he would make the ruku' while on the minbar, وَهُوَ عَلَيْهِ, while he is on the minbar. So the imam makes all of this while he's on the minbar. The qiyam, the ruku', the sujood, all will be made while he is on the minbar. Thumma, then after the imam has risen from the ruku', after he has risen from the ruku', yanzilu al-qahqari, the imam will now come down from the minbar, walking on his back. So it means that the imam does not have to turn. He doesn't have to turn his face to come down from the minbar. What the imam does is yanzilu al-qahqariya. The imam will descend from the minbar, walking on his back. Hatta yatamakkana min as-sujudi ala al-ard fi asli al-minbar. Now the imam will come down from the minbar on his back, walking on his back, until he is able to make the sujud at the feet of the minbar. At the feet of the minbar. So the imam makes the sujud not on the minbar, but on the ground at the feet of the minbar. This is what the imam should do. Summa ya'udu ilayhi. Then after he makes the sujud, he sits down, he does his Rabbi freely, he goes back for the second sujood. Then when he stands again for the second rakah, he climbs the mimbar and does as he did in the first rakah. فَيَصْنَعُ فِي الرَّكَعَةِ الْأُخْرَى كَمَا صَنَعَ فِي الْأُولَى. So he repeats the same thing that he did in the first rakah, in the second rakah, with the aim of teaching the people how to observe salah. So in all of this, the people are watching the salat of the imam. Now somebody may say, but are the ma'mumun not expected to be looking at the place of sujood in salah? The ulama have mentioned that al-ahwat, what is better for the ma'mum is to look at the mahallu sujud while he's behind the imam. But there is no evidence to this. There is an evidence prohibiting looking up. لا ينتهين أقوام يرفعون أبصارهم إلى السماء أو لا ترجع إليهم. In other riwayah, أو لا تخطفن أبصارهم. So those who observe salat while looking up should be careful. They should beware. They should desist. Otherwise, their eyes may not be returned to them. Otherwise, their eyes may be seized. So the Prophet ﷺ said, do not look up when you're observing salah. This is forbidden. There's another hadith by Aisha that she said, she asked the Messenger of Allah ﷺ anil iltifat, about looking here and there in salah. And he said, it is a theft that the shaitan steals from the salat of the servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we have two evidence now. The first is that it is not allowed to look up while praying. The second is that it's not allowed to look here and there while praying. So where do we look? The ulama said the ahwat is that we look at the mahallu sujud, but there is no direct evidence that you have to look there. And the reason is that there's a hadith that the Sahaba said, we used to know the surah or ayah that the Messenger of Allah recites even in silent prayers. They were asked, how? How do you know which surah or ayah he recites in silent prayers when you cannot hear his recitation? They said, with the movement of his beard. Subhanallah. So the Sahaba were so attentive, they were so curious about their deed that the movement of the beard of the Prophet ﷺ would tell them which surah he recites. Now there's another hadith that the Prophet ﷺ used to make a few recitations loudly even while reciting silently, so that the Sahaba would hear his recitation. But the hadith I mentioned that they said with the movement of his beard, so they know what surah is reciting, is an evidence that the Sahaba would at times look up to see the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this is why it is permitted if the Imam is leading the Salah and is standing on the mimbar with the intention of teaching us how to pray, that we can raise our eyes to look at the Imam in order to learn how he leads the Salah. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam once stood on the mimbar and taught the Sahaba how to pray, and when he finished the salah, he said to them, Ayu annas, O you people, inni sana'tu hadha. I have prayed in this manner, litatammu bi, so that you can follow my salat, wa lita'allamu salati, and so that you can also know and learn, so that you can learn and know my manner of salat. Wujubu salati ila sutratin wa dunubi minha. The obligation of praying with sutra in one's front, as well as being close to one's sutra. Now, sutra is an object that the musalli places in front of him while observing the salah. In the time of Prophet ﷺ, the object is like a spear, for example, that the Sahaba will place in their front, because the height of the object has to be like the behind of the horse. So the height of the behind of the horse. It is not as many people want to pray today and then they remove their caps and put the cap in front of them. This is not sutra. This is not sutra. It has to be something that is a bit high, not just anything. Some people will place their shoes in front of them. Well, Allah Ta'ala Alam, because of darura, this is acceptable, but it is not the ideal sutra that the Muslim is expected to place in his front. Sheikh Al-Albani said, وَيَجِبُ أَنْ يُصَلِّيَ إِلَى سُطْرَةٍ. It is compulsory that one observes salat with sutra in front of him. لَا فَرْقَ فِي ذَلِكَ بَيْنَ الْمَسْجِدِ وَغَيْرِهِ. There is no difference whether one is praying in the masjid or is praying on the street or is praying in his house. Whenever you are praying, putting sutura in front of you is compulsory. وَلَا بَيْنَ كَبِيرَةٍ وَصَغِيرَةٍ لِعُمُومِ قَوْلِهِ لَا تُصَلِّي إِلَّا إِلَى سُتْرَةٍ وَلَا تَدَعُ أَحَدًا يَمُرُّ بَيْنَ يَدَيْكَ فَإِنْ أَبَى فَلْتُقَاتِلْهُ فَإِنَّ مَعَهُ الْقَرِينَ. So there is no difference whether you are praying in the masjid or you are praying outside the masjid. Putting sutura in front of you is compulsory. It is a required aspect of our salah. The Prophet ﷺ said, do not pray except that there is a sutura in front of you. So the sutura should be towards your qibla, so that you are praying towards the sutura. The sutura should be towards your qibla. وَلَا تَدَعُ أَحَدًا. Do not leave anyone يَمُرُّ بَيْنَ يَدَيْكَ, to walk in front of you, to pass in front of you while you are praying. It means that if you are observing salah and you have sutura in front of you, and anyone wants to pass between you and the sutura, now the sutura should be at your mahal sujud, at where you place your head. Do not place the sutura like towards the wall there. Some people, you can't place the sutura 10-15 feet away from you. The sutura should just be in front of you, something like 5-6 feet, depending on how tall you are. So place the sutura at where you place your head for sujud, not that the sutura will be far away from you. So when you are praying and you have the sutura in front of you, and anyone wants to pass between you and the sutura, people are allowed to pass behind the sutura. So people can pass in the space that is left from where your sutura is till the wall, for instance, or to anywhere. People can pass there. But anyone who wishes to pass between you and your sutura, stop him. Stop him. So how do you stop him? You have your hands like this on salah. Someone want to pass here because your sutura is here. You stretch your hand like this and say stop. So this means stop. For every sane person, once you stretch your hand, it implies stop, don't pass here. For that person to insist on passing between your sutura, such a person is shaitan. The Prophet, there are two riwayat to this hadith. In one riwayah, he said, فَإِنَّ مَعَهُ الْقَرِينَ. Al-Qarin here means shaitan. Shaitan is influencing him. He is under the influence of shaitan. And that shaitan is the shaitan that is with every person. So that shaitan has gotten the better of him. Now that this is a فَإِنَّهُ shaitan, or فَإِنَّمَا هُوَ shaitan. He is shaitan himself. So there is, because his action is devilish. The reason is that the Prophet said, when you pray, have the sutra in front of you. Do not allow anyone to break your salat. Do not allow anyone to break your salat. So have your sutra. The Messenger of Allah was praying one day, and a sheep, not even a human being, a sheep was about to pass between him and the sutra, and he moved forward and held the sheep to the wall until the sheep had to pass behind him. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So this is a practical demonstration that the Muslim does not allow anyone to pass between him and the sutra. And again, the Prophet said, if the person that passes in front of people observing salah, who passes between them and the sutra indiscriminately, knows the kind of sin that is on him or the gravity of the sin he's committing, it would have been better for him, or he would have preferred to wait for 40. The reporter said, I can't remember whether he said 40 minutes or 40 days or 40 years or 40 weeks or 40 months. So for 40, that is the gravity. Now, what if somebody is praying and he has no sutra in front of him? Two hadith applies here. The first hadith is that the person that is praying has a duty to stop anyone from passing in front of him if he has sutra. If you don't have sutra, then on what ground are you stopping him from passing in front of you? You've given them the chance to do so. If there's no sutura, then you can move closer to a pillar or to the wall so that nobody has to pass in front of you. Now, the second hadith is that even the person that is about to pass, there is a prohibition for him from passing. So each of the two is under prohibition. The person praying is to prohibit somebody from passing. The person passing is prohibited from passing. So it is better if you're praying, if someone is praying and you want to pass, and there is no space behind him to pass, and there is no space after his sutura to pass, you can tell the person to move a bit forward so that you pass behind him and then he moves back. You can tell him to move a bit forward. Do not pass in front of him. It is prohibited to do so. Again, we must be mindful. The Messenger of Allah said, 3 things makes one salat invalid. There are 3 things that invalidate your salat if any of the 3 passes in front of you. Number 1 is a woman that has started menstruation. Now, al-hayidu here doesn't mean a woman that is menstruating at the moment, because how would you differentiate between a woman menstruating now and the one that is not menstruating? But al-hayidu means a woman that has started menstruating. So whether she's menstruating at that time or not does not matter. She has started menstruation, meaning she's valid. So if such a woman passes between you and your suitor, even if she's your wife, your salat is invalid. Some people will say, but Aisha used to lie down for Prophet and she, whenever I want to make sujood, he touches her leg, so she takes her leg. There's a difference between someone that is passing and someone that is lying down. Aisha was lying down and her feet was towards the Qibla. She was not passing in front of him. These are 2 different issues. So do not allow a woman that is mature to pass between you and your Qibla. It's allowed to become invalid. The second is donkey, and the third is the black dog. The Sahaba asked, Ya Rasulullah, why the black dog? Why not just dog? He said, because Al-Kalib al-Aswad Shaitan. The black dog is the devil. So do not allow any of these 3 to pass in front of you between you and your sutura. So if you don't have sutura, that's your problem. That's your problem. Your salat becomes invalid. Now, what about people that are passing far away from the mahallu sujood? For example, someone is praying here and he doesn't have sutura, and someone is passing like 300 meters away from him, or even 20-30 meters away from him. Well, as far as I know, Allah Ta'ala alam, it doesn't affect the salah. It doesn't affect the salah because it is between him and his place of sujood that the sutra is. And so whatever happens after that should not affect the salat. Wallahu Ta'ala alam. This is the best that I know. So the Messenger of Allah said, Fa'in Abba. But if after stopping the person that intends to pass in front of him, the person refuses, then finally you continue, you should fight him. Now, fighting here doesn't mean that you begin to box the person. You turn yourself into a gidigbo fighter. No, that is what he's saying. Finally continue here means to hit the person. Hit the person, not that you have to start fighting. Do not fight. This is because it is mentioned that Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, who referred to this hadith, said one day he was observing the salah, and a young man decided to pass between him and his sutra, and he stretched his hand in order to stop the young man. فَلْيَمْنَعْهُ. In other way, it is فَلْيَمْنَعْهُ مَرَّتَيْنِ. Stop him from passing twice. Stop him from passing twice. So he tried to stop the young man from passing twice, but the young man was having none of it. And so he hit him on his chest so hard that the young man felt the pain. And so the young man went and reported him to Umar bin al-Khattab, to Umar bin al-Khattab, radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And when he was called, he said, I heard Prophet ﷺ said, do not allow anyone to break your salat. So I stopped this young man twice. And when he refused to stop, that was why I hit him on his chest so hard. So finally, you continue here does not mean you should kill him, as some ignorant people misinterpreted the word qatala to mean qatala. Even Ibn Manzur in his Lisan al-Arab on the murder of Qaf, Ta, and Lam said, wa fil hadith falyuqatiluhu ay falyudafi'uhu. That in the hadith falyuqatiluhu, this falyuqatiluhu here means he should push him. Walaysa kullu qitalin bima'na qatala, said Ibn Manzur in Lisan al-Arab. It is not every qatala that one is fighting that means killing. It is not every fighting that means killing. And even the fighting here, falyuqatiluhu here does not mean you should start boxing the person or you should start slapping each other. It means push him. So the hand that you stretch out like this to stop him, you can use it to push him back and say, go back, without uttering a word. Without uttering a word. Because if you start fighting on salah, your salah becomes invalid. You don't fight on salah. It is not allowed to fight on salah. وَيَجِبُ أَنْ يَدْنُوَ مِنْهَا. It is also compulsory that when one is praying with a sutura to his front, he moves closer to his sutura. You don't stay far, you don't stand far away from the sutura. Move closer to your sutura. لأمر النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بذلك. Because Prophet ﷺ has commanded us to pray closer to our sutura. وكان بين موضع سجوده صلى الله عليه وسلم والجدار الذي يصلي إليه نحو ممر شاة. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what lies between his place of sujood and the wall which he has made a sutura? Like I said, the wall can be your sutura, the pillar of the masjid can be your sutura. So the distance between the place of the Prophet's sujood and the wall is a distance that is enough, spacious enough for a goat or sheep to pass through. So for a sheep to pass through, you can see how short it is, very short. It means it is likely not more than just a span or 2 spans of hand at most, a span of hand at most, so that a sheep can pass through. فَمَنْ فَعَلَ ذَلِكَ, whoever has prayed in this manner, with a sutura in front of him and being close to his sutura, فَقَدْ أَتَى بِالدُّنُوِّ الْوَاجِبِ, as satisfied the obligatory closeness to the sutura that is required of the Muslim whenever he prays. So this is what is better. And in the ta'liq to this comment, the Sheikh said, "Kultu," I say, وَمِنْهُ نَعْلَمُ أَنَّ مَا يَفْعَلُهُ النَّاسِ. And from this explanation, that the distance between the wall to which Prophet prays and his place of sujood is just a distance enough for the sheep to pass, we know that what people are doing في كل المساجد التي رأيتها, in all the mosques that I have seen, في سوريا, in Syria, وغيرها, and in other places, من الصلاة وسط المسجد, whereby they pray in the middle of the masjid, بعيدا عن الجدار, standing far away from the wall. Our Sharia, or maybe the pillar, for example, or any of the veils in the masjid, ما هو إلا غفلة عن أمره صلى الله عليه وسلم وفعله. This is but heedlessness from the command of the Prophet ﷺ and his practice. So the Prophet's practice is that he is closer to his sutura, either it is the wall or the pillar of the masjid. Not that one is far away from the wall or from the pillar of the masjid, which he uses for sutura. So inshallah, because of our time, this is where we'll stop. We'll take a few questions, bismillah ta'ala, and then tomorrow we'll continue from, and then next week, inshallah, we'll continue from Miqdaru Tifa'i Sutura. Wallahu ta'ala alam, wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Now.
Assalamu alaikum. Allah reward you abundantly. All right, we have some few questions here. Inshallah, I'll go with the first one. It said, can we shoe ones join self with one without shoe? I think basically the question is, can someone praying with shoe join self with someone that is not praying with shoe? That's the first question.
Yes, there is no prohibition for someone praying with shoes or sandals or slippers on to join salat with people that are praying with their shoes or slippers on. There is no prohibition. It is down to individual's choice. For example, while praying the Salatul Janaza, you realize that some people will remove their shoes and some people will not remove their shoes, and we still stand feet to feet, shoulder to shoulder in Salah. So there is no harm. If some people decide to remove their shoes in Salah and some people do not remove their shoes, they can pray feet to feet with each other. Wallahu ta'ala.
Okay, the second question goes, Salamu alaikum. If someone makes a salam, finishes his prayer in the second rakah of Salatul Maghrib, and then he remembered that he prayed only 2 rakats, what should he do in this situation?
Now, someone that observes Salatul Maghrib, and instead of praying 3 rakats, he terminated the salat in the second rakah. If he is able to remember before time lapses, there is no definition for which time is longer or shorter. The ulama said this is down to the order of the people. It is the order of the people that determines the time lapse between his taslim and when he remembers. Is it long or short? It depends on the order. So if it is within a very short time that he remembers, maybe before leaving the masjid or maybe on getting home, if the time lapse is short, depending on the order of the people, he is expected to return back to his place of salat. Now, it is not as if he prays in the masjid alone and he gets to his house and remembered I prayed 2 rakat, he should go back to the masjid. He can pray it in his house. So long as his ablution is not vitiated. If his ablution is vitiated, then of course he has to do the salat again. The reason why is that if his ablution is still valid, is assumed to have still been in the salat, but has only made a mistake. But once his ablution is vitiated, then he's out of that salat. So what he should do is that he goes back to the sitting posture. The person that makes taslim in the second rakah in Maghrib, instead of 3 rakat, will go back to the sitting posture, say the Allahu Akbar from that position. Now, we know that there are 3 ways of rising to the 4th rakah in salah. The first is to say the Allahu Akbar while sitting and raising the hand in that sitting position. Sheikh Albani mentioned it in his book. This is allowed. The second is that he can make the takbir and stand with the takbir like that, Allahu Akbar, and then raises the hand when he gets up. The third, and this is the view of many of the Malikiya, is that he stands up without saying anything. And then when he gets up, he says the takbir, Allahu Akbar. And this is what is common among our people here. So whichever of the 3 he does is okay. But he starts with the sitting posture because that is where he can take the salah. So then he goes up and then says a complete rakah of salat, Fatiha alone, silently. Then he finishes the salat, he made the taslim, and then he does sujood saha with 2 prostrations after the taslim and does not need to do another tahiyyat. If he does another tahiyyat, no problem, but he does not need to do it. Wallahu ta'ala.
So the next question, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. What's the ruling on a cat playing around a person while one observes salah? Some cats even sit in the front of a person while he or she is praying.
The Messenger of Allah was asked about the remnant of water of the cats. That if, for example, one places water for ablution and a cat drinks from the water, we all know the ruling concerning when a dog dips his mouth into the bowl of water, that we are to throw away the water, we are to wash the bowl 7 times, and one of it should be with sand. But does it apply to cat? A Sahabi asked Prophet ﷺ, and he said, no. The cat is minat tawafin alaykum wa tawafa. They are among the animals that surround you and move around you. So if one is observing the salah, and his cat, for example, was circumambulating him, like the cat is doing tawaf, this has nothing to do with his salat. His salat is valid. His salat is valid. Wallahu ta'ala.
Okay. So the next question, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Is it true that when a menstruating woman crosses your salah is broken?
Yes, like I mentioned, the Prophet said there are 3 things that invalidate the salah. And one of them is a woman that has started menstruating. It means a woman that has attained the age of puberty. So whether she is menstruating at the moment or she's not menstruating at the moment is immaterial. Once she has attained puberty and she passes your front, it vitiates your salat. That is the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
The next question, how big should the sutura be, please?
Yes, I think that is the next topic we'll discuss. So if the person can be patient in the next, can the person be patient in the next class? Now, or if the person cannot be patient, then it should be 1 or 2 arms length from the ground, an arm length or 2 arms length from the ground. That is what is allowed. It is not the size, but the height. Not the size, but the height. So it doesn't have to be something big, but it's something that is long. So the height should be 1 arm's length or 2 arms length. Allah Ta'ala. We will expatiate this in our next class, inshallah.
All right. The next question. Assalamu alaikum, ya Sheikh. You mentioned earlier that one should not allow anyone to pass through you and your sutra. what if during Salah, children were playing around and suddenly one of them happens to run very fast and passes between one and the sutra?
Whatever you have no control over, no problem about that at all, because you don't have control over it. But the best thing to do is to teach our household that whenever anyone is observing Salah, they should not pass between him and the sutra. The Prophet did not differentiate between the mature and the immature concerning this. So even our children, we should not allow them to be running in front of us whenever we're observing Salat to our sutra. So, but whatever we don't have control over, no problem. We should only try to teach them that next time they should not do that. And it does not vitiate our Salah, so long as it is not among the 3 things that there are these mentions that invalidate our Salat. Wallahu ta'ala.
Okay. So the next question: even when praying in my house, living room, for example, do I place a sutra or pray close to the wall?
Yes, one can use either of the two. Sheikh Albani said there's no difference between the one praying the masjid and the one praying anywhere else. So wherever you are praying, whether it is the masjid or in your house, try to have your sutra. And if you don't have sutra, then pray towards the wall of your house. Let the distance between you and the wall be something like an arm's length that will only allow a sheep to pass through. So this is what is better, inshallah.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum. If someone in the past have missed praying some salah and later on in life he repents, is it permissible to pray 2 prayers? Like, for example, after praying his or her zuhur, prays another 4 raka'ahs, trying to make up for the past prayers not done.
Yes, it is permitted to do that. The ulama said, whoever has behaved in a lackadaisical manner to salat, that is, he does not pray some of the salawat, then at the time he remembers and he repents sincerely to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he should try to recollect the volume of salat that he has missed. He should recollect the volume of salat that he has missed, and he should pray them back. And the manner of praying back, there are 2 manners of praying back. One is that if it is the time for Salatul Zuhr, now, for example, as I have learned from my Sheikh Abdul Hafidhahullah Ta'ala, that one can pray, let's say Salatul Subuh, for example, he can pray Subuh, Zuhr, Asr, Maghrib, and Isha of one day. Then he prays the Subuh for today. Then for time for Salatul Zuhr, he does the same, so that he will be able to complete the missed prayers on time, because he doesn't know when death will overtake him. And he can also pray it that if it is time for Subuh, he prays the missed Subuh, then he prays today's Subuh. The time for Dhuhr, he prays the missed Dhuhr, and then today's Dhuhr. So either of the 2 is correct, as my Sheikh Abdul Hafidhahullah Ta'ala has mentioned to me in one of my questions to me.
Assalamu alaikum. Please, can the Sheikh explain on praying completely standing without going to sujood? I did not really understand that part.
Okay. A video went viral yesterday, and I posted it on my Facebook wall. And one of our brothers, Abdul Qawi ibn Badmos, Hafidhahullah Ta'ala, put the question to our Sheikh, Dr. Bilal, Dr. Sirajuddin ibn Bilal al-Asra, Hafidhahullah Ta'ala. The video is about some medical doctors who are frontline in the USA attending to COVID-19 patients, and they observed their salat standing, the entire salat. They pray standing, and they only made the ruku, but did not make sujood. So somebody asked, is it permitted to pray like this? And he said, yes, it is permitted to pray like this. So if it is difficult to pray while observing any of the arkan of salah, then one should pray in a manner that is easier for him. Yesterday we mentioned that if somebody were very sick and he was lying on his back and he cannot even make ruku, not to talk of sujood, then he should pray with iman, making gestures with his eyes, and it is allowed. Now, I think the question the person is trying to answer, if it, is trying to ask if it's about our discussion today, is praying the entire Qiyamul Layl in a standing posture. By this, I did not mean that the person would not do ruku or will not do sujood. I was trying to differentiate between praying the entire Qiyamul Layl standing on your feet and praying the entire Qiyamul Layl sitting down, that the 2 is permitted. And then the 3rd version is combining standing and sitting. So I did not say that one will not make ruku or will not make sujood. I'm saying that the entire salat, the person will begin by standing, and then he makes ruku or sujood, he returns to the standing posture. Wallahu ta'ala.
Okay. So the next question is, what is the best position to start in salah with my wife, beside me or behind me?
Now, the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, and on which were the Sahaba and the Tabi'un and the subsequent generations up till our present time, is that when a woman prays with a man, then she neither leads him in salah, nor does she stand to his side in salah. She is expected to stand behind him. So if one is praying with his wife, the wife will stand behind her husband. If one is praying with his daughter, the daughter will stand behind her father. And even if one is praying with his mother, the mother will stand behind her son. But if one is praying with his son, with his brother, with his nephew, with his father, then the man will stand, the men will stand beside each other. So this is what the Sunnah Prophet ﷺ teaches. But as for women, they have to stand behind. Wallahu ta'ala.
The next question, Assalamu alaikum. Please, how do you pray istikhara?
Now, Salatul Istikhara, Jabir ibn Abdullah radiallahu ta'ala anhu said, كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يعلمنا الاستخارة كما يعلمنا السورة من القرآن. The Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم used to teach us al-istikhara in the same way that he teaches us the surah of the Quran. So he will say, إِذَا هَمَّ أَحَدُكُمْ شَيْئًا, whenever any of you has anything in mind, intends anything, then فَلْيَرْكَ رَكَعَتَيْنِ, he should observe 2 rak'ah of salah. Now, let's say, for example, one is seeking a job, or maybe there are 2 opportunities for job or admission or more than that, or even one. What does he do? He performs ablution, the normal ablution that one performs for salah. He observes 2 rakat of prayer with Fatiha and ma tayassara min al-Quran, whatever surah is able to recite from the Quran. Then after this, he now makes the dua al-istikhara, which we can find in Hisn al-Muslim. Allahumma inni astakhiruka bi'ilmika wa astaghfiruka bi qudratika. So like that, the dua is well known. So one should make the dua al-istikhara, and then in the dua is an indication that Allahumma in kunta ta'lam, oh Allah, if you know that this matter that I intend, he will not mention the matter. If you know that this admission that I'm seeking will be good for me in my life and in now or later, in my life that I live, or even in the year after, make it easy for me. فَقُدُرُهُ لِي وَيَسِّرُهُ لِي. Make it easy for me, and then make my affairs easy so that I will attain it easily. If this matter, oh Allah, in your knowledge of things, is something that is evil for me, then فَاسْرِفُوا عَنِّي وَاسْرِفْنِي عَنِّهُ. Take it away from me and take me away from it. So this is how to do the istikhara. We should learn it from the Hisn al-Muslim, the style of the believers. A very short and beneficial dua. And then we ensure that we mention these things there. Now the istikhara is not just a one-time thing that you perform one time and then that is all. No. It is something that you can do oft repeatedly. Sheikh ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala was asked concerning this, and this was his fatwa, that one can do it more than one time. It is not only when you are seeking husband or you are seeking wife that you do istikhara. Istikhara is for everything, every affair of the Muslims. One should endeavor to do the istikhara, and istikhara means seeking Allah's blessing in one's choice. Seeking Allah's blessing in one's choice. So a man approaches you. It doesn't have to be 2 men before you do your istikhara. For example, as a sister, a man approaches you and then he woos you that he wants you for marriage. So you do your istikhara and then you mention his name. Oh Allah, if you know that this Abdurrahman that has approached me is the best man for me, you know, in my religion, in my life, in my this, make it easy for me. But if it's not, take him away from me. Let us scatter. So you do it up repeatedly, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make your affairs easy. And istikhara has nothing to do with dream. It's not as if you now see yourselves run after each other in a banana plantation, for example, or singing all these Hausa or Indian love songs. No, 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 no. There's nothing attached to istikhara, no dream attached to istikhara. But if he's destined for you and your living with him will be better, the affairs will just come very easily. In fact, your parents will accept the wholeheartedly. Now, do not despair. Do not say, but I did istikhara, despite this, my marriage is crashing. That your marriage that is crashing might be, number one, Allah's way of testing you. وَجَعَلْنَا بَعْضَكُمْ لِبَعْضٍ فِتْنَةً أَتَصْبِرُونَ. So Allah might be testing you, as Allah says in the Quran, in Ya Ladina Amanu, inna min azwajikum wa awladikum aduwwan lakum fa'dharuhum. Among your spouses and your children are your enemies. Beware of them. So Allah might have decided to test your iman, not to punish you, but to test your iman. So Wallahu ta'ala alam.
Okay, so inshallah, the next question is, Assalamu alaikum. What is the ruling on praying Salatul Jama with distant gaps between people, like being done presently in Masjid al-Haram, or seen being done in the Janaza prayer?
Now, this question has been put to some of the eminent scholars of Islam, Hafidhahumullah, who are alive with us today, because it seems that it is mas'alatun mustajadda, as if it is a new issue. However, this issue is not new. Sheikh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala in his fatwa, I'm not able to put the appropriate page or volume in the fatwa now, has mentioned this over 700 years ago, that if for any reason people are not able to observe salat standing together in the saf, shoulder to shoulder, foot to foot, then they can observe the salat with distance between themselves. And the reason for the difference of opinion, like I said, Sheikh Abdul Mohsin Abad, Hafidhahullah Ta'ala, was asked this question, and he said it is not permitted to pray salat in this manner. But other scholars like Sheikh Saleh, the Mufti of Medina, now I'm trying to collect his name, Hafidhahullah Ta'ala, was asked the same, Sheikh Suleiman Ruhaili was asked the same question, and he said it is permitted. It is permitted. Now, the reason for the difference is because the ulama long ago have two positions, two opinions concerning the obligatory nature of at-tarash, standing foot to foot, shoulder to shoulder in salat. Is it obligatory or is it mustahab? The majority of the ulama of the view that it is mustahab. It is not obligatory. It is mustahab. It is preferred. The second view is that it is obligatory. So for those that say it is obligatory, abandoning what is obligatory becomes an issue. However, whichever camp you decide to pitch your tent with, for the Ahnaf, for example, those that follow the Hanafi madhab, and you see many of them maybe in these Asian countries, they don't even stand foot to foot with each other, because that is the view of the Hanafiya, that it is not compulsory. But for even the majority of the ulama that say it is mustahab, they would not allow people to, without any reason, pray with spaces between them, with distance between them. So it is when there is a cogent reason. So what is wajib, for the taskutu be darura. Because of darura, a wajib may even be abandoned because there is a darura. For example, al-qiyam fi salah, it is wajib. To stand in prayer is compulsory. But if you can't stand praying, so what do? You pray sitting because there's a darura. So whichever of the camp you pitch your tent with, the point is that the coronavirus is said to spread with physical contact. And so, وَلَا تُلْقُوا بِأَيْدِيكُمْ إِلَى تَهْلُكَةٍ وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ. Do not use your hand to cause destruction. If people are allowed to pray in congregation, they can pray with spaces between themselves. If there is no government order banning congregational salat, people can pray with spaces between themselves. So depending on what the situation warrants, and this does not fall under a salatu khalfa saf. It does not fall under praying alone behind the saf, as Sheikh Ruhaili has explained. But if there's a government order that people should not go out to pray in the masjid in congregation, then it is better for people to abide by that order. And this is what I've heard from my Sheikh Umar Hafidhahullah Ta'ala. This is his position. If there's a government order that people should not pray in congregation in the masajid, then people should abide by that order. Because of Ati'u Allah wa Ati'u Rasul wa ulil amri minkum. But if there is no order banning congregational salat, then people can pray with distance between themselves, wallahu ta'ala alam, and their salat is valid, and it will be counted as salatul jama'ah in the view of Sheikh Suleiman al-Ruhaili. As for the view of Sheikh Abdul Musin Abbad, hafidhahullah ta'ala, he said they will only be rewarded for praying individually. But wallahu ta'ala alam, my view is that of Sheikh Suleiman al-Ruhaili, hafidhahullah ta'ala. Now.
MashaAllah. So the next question is, Assalamu alaikum ya Sheikh. How can someone create khushu in salah?
No, we are obligated to observe salat khashi'in, with absolute khushu'. How to create khushu' in salat is that whenever one intends to pray, he should purify his intention. He should not make his salat a riyah, that people should come and see him. He beautifies his recitation, or he elongates his ruku' and sujud so that people around see him. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَوَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنْ صَلَاتِهِمْ سَاهُونَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ يُرَاءُونَ. So Riya is ashirk al-asgar. It is a minor shirk. So that is number one. He should abstain from Riya. Number two is he should have ikhlas and abstain from Riya. That is one. Number two is that he should avoid iltifat, looking here and there. He should concentrate his view on the mahal sujud. He should look at the place of prostration. Number three, he should do tafakkur on the ayat that he is reciting. Some people just recite verse of the Quran without having tafakkur, reflecting on the ayat. And one way by which you can reflect on verse of the Quran is by learning the meanings. So one is expected to learn the meanings of the ayat of the Quran. So when you are doing your tahfidh, always try to learn the meanings of what you recite, so that if you recite ayat of taqwa, you pray silently to Allah to grant you taqwa. It touches your heart. If you recite ayat of Jannah, you have bishara that Jannah is for you if you do the right thing. If you are reciting ayat of adhab, ayat of punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you develop the khushu'. And this is one of the permissible things in salat is crying. So one can cry in salat if it is due to the fear of Allah or because of the things it's reciting. So these are practical ways by which one can develop khushu'. You should avoid iltifatat. You should avoid everything that distracts his attention. The Prophet ﷺ was praying one day, nafila, in his room, the room of Aisha, and a curtain had a sort of drawing on it. And he said the curtain should be returned. He said the curtain should be removed and it should be taken away from his qibla because it causes him distraction. So this is how to develop khushu' and salat. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for us. Allah ta'ala.
The next question is, please can you ask the Sheikh on what is the minimal distance the woman should stand behind the man?
Okay, the minimal distance that anyone, not only the woman, anyone can stand behind the imam should be a distance that enables him or her to place his or her head in sujud comfortably without harassing the imam. So there is no length of distance. Whatever distance that would allow you to comfortably make your sujud without harassing the imam is the minimal distance. That is it, depending on the place of prayer. But it should be that it also allows the imam to be able to perform the sujud fully. Not that the imam will have to squeeze himself to make the sujud. And even the ma'mumun. Allah Ta'ala.
So the next question, with respect to the question of standing position for a woman to pray with the husband, what if the prayer space in the room is not wide enough to accommodate the woman to stay behind?
Okay, now somebody is asking if there is no much space for the woman to stand behind her husband, so can she stand to his side? Standing to his side will still mean that she stands at least 1 foot behind the husband. So for example, if the room is tight and she cannot stand directly behind him, because if she wants to make ruku or sujood, she'll be harassing him. Her head will be touching his behind. She can stand to his side. She can move to his side, but at the minimum of a foot at least behind him, and pray like that is allowed. Allah Ta'ala. It doesn't have to be directly behind. If the situation warrants that she can't stand directly behind, she should stand to his side, but she should still be at least a foot behind him.
Okay, so the next question goes, please, should the istikhara be recited before salam?
No. The 2 rakat of salat is different from the istikhara. So you would have finished your 2 rakat of salat, and then the istikhara is dua. It is not made within the salat, but after the taslim. Allah Ta'ala.
So the next question, Assalamu alaikum. What is the appropriate time for salah if I pray Asr 4:20 p.m. or Maghrib 7:10, like 10 minutes or 20 minutes late?
Salah commences, one should strive to observe the salat as early as he can. The Prophet was asked about Abdul Amal, and he said, as-salatu li waqtiha, observing the salah at its appropriate time. Now, there is no blame if people decide, for example, Salatul Zuhr is, let's say, 1 p.m., and the people of a masjid decide to put their Salatul Zuhr at 1:15 or 1:30 p.m. or 2 p.m. There is no blame, but they should ensure that they pray early enough. They should not delay it unnecessarily. So pray very early enough. It doesn't have to be at the exact time for the Salah, because Salah is just commencing at that time, but it shouldn't be so late that it becomes unnecessary.
The last question, does the lack of enough distance between the imam and the mamu invalidate the prayer?
No, it does not, except if one is unable to perform the arkan salah conveniently. The Prophet said, "Innaha la tuji salatu rajulin la yuqimu sulbahu fi ruku' wa sujud." Aw kama qala sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That the salat of a man will not be sufficient. His salat will not be acceptable if he's unable to stretch his waist properly in his sujud or in his ruku'. So, if the distance between the imam and the ma'mun is so short that the ma'mun is not even able to do the ruku' properly, then such salat has issues. Such salat has issues because our ruku' is rukunun min arkan salat, so the same way as sujud. And even ruku' has conditions. In fact, the Prophet, whenever he makes ruku', he would stretch his back. He would stretch his back. He would ensure that his head is flat with his back. It does not bend the head. It does not raise the head. So imagine if someone is unable to do all of this. Such salat has issues, and we should not pray in such environment. So we should ensure that we pray in an environment where the distance between us and the imam would be enough for us to observe our ruku' and our sujud conveniently. So I think that is the last question.
Yes. Jazakallah, Sheikh, for your time and your knowledge. Thank you. All right, Jazakallah khair to the participant. Inshallah, we'll end the class here. And tomorrow we'll be having Ustaz Hasib No, who will be speaking on recovery from addiction tomorrow, inshallah. All right, ma'asalam.